You know, I've always been fascinated with people who are excellent at something, at people who are world-class at something, or phenomenally successful at something. And it's fascinating to me to see the similarities between people who are phenomenally successful in business and people who are phenomenally successful in sport and people who become saints. There tends to be these themes, there tends to be these connections between all of these things. And one of those themes that has just continued to strike me throughout my life, exploring the lives of, you know, successful people, is the theme of delayed gratification. It would seem to me that you cannot be successful at anything without delaying gratification. Success doesn't just show up and, you know, make itself yours. You actually, there's a process you go through to be excellent at something. And that process always requires delayed gratification. And that doesn't matter, you know, if someone sets out to become a saint, guess what? There's a lot of delayed gratification there. And if someone sets out to be successful in business or successful in sport, guess what? There's a lot of delayed gratification there. You can't be successful in marriage unless you're willing to delay gratification. It's not possible. You can't be a great parent unless you're willing to delay gratification, because the sense is just to embrace, you know, whatever feels good, whatever seems good, whatever, but sometimes you realize, whoa, I gotta hold back a little bit here. Sometimes you realize, you know what, loving my child is not giving my child this thing. Loving my child is not giving my child this thing. And that's difficult. And that's when it becomes, okay, whose need is being served? Am I giving my child this thing because my child needs this thing? Or because it's a fun thing for my child? Or am I giving my child this thing to fill some need in me? Whose need is being served? I think it's always a fascinating question to ask ourselves in situations. Whose need is being served? But in all relationships, you have to delay gratification in order to have a phenomenal relationship. You know, you can't be physically healthy unless you're willing to delay gratification. You can't be financially healthy unless you're willing to delay gratification. Being financially healthy requires delayed gratification, and not just once or twice, but constant. They're like a constant vigilance of delayed gratification to get financially healthy and stay financially healthy and be financially healthy. And so this concept of delayed gratification is astoundingly powerful, and yet we live in a culture, of course, that is phenomenally allergic to the idea of delayed gratification. We live in a culture now where instant gratification isn't actually fast enough, because it's like a culture of gratification. And yet, you can't be successful at anything unless you're willing to delay gratification. And in fact, the more you develop your ability to delay gratification, the more successful you'll be at everything. Everything. It's one of those life skills that nobody ever talks to us about in school, right? Nobody ever says in school, oh, if you want to have a great career and be really successful, you've got to learn how to delay gratification. And once again, what do we find? We find that the genius of Catholicism is phenomenally practical. It's not just some off in the clouds theology. It's here, right in the midst of everything we do. And the church, for 2,000 years, very unpopularly, has been saying, hey, delay gratification. Why? Because the church wants you to suffer? No. Because the church wants you to be unhappy? No. Because the church wants you to experience excellence in everything you do. The church wants you to become the best version of yourself. There's genius in Catholicism, and it is phenomenally practical. And who else for 2,000 years has been saying, delayed gratification is one of the keys to living a happy, fulfilling life. Nobody. It's unpopular sometimes to announce the truth. And it's certainly unpopular at this time in history to announce, hey, delayed gratification is a path to happiness, is a path to excellence. But the church is always there. And so as we make this journey together, I think it is important for us to ask ourselves, okay, how do we delay gratification? How do we delay our gratification? And why does it matter? And how is not delaying our gratification hurting us? Or how is not delaying our gratification in the past hurt us? Because I think the first thing is you've got to be really convinced that this concept is real, that there's truth in it, that there's wisdom in it, because you're not going to apply the concept powerfully into your life unless you have that belief.